Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Journey to Virtuous. I'm your host, Shawn Pearson, and today I am super excited to be on stage with two men who I value very, very much. There's not enough mics for all the men that I value, but today's episode, I entitled it Man 101. And on my journey to virtuous as a woman, there's so many things I don't know. There was a very significant journey or part of my journey that involved me raising my son without his father being present. And I was one of many single moms. And one of the things on that journey that really stuck with me is how people would sometimes say things like Happy Father's Day to me on Mother's Day or on Father's Day. Or you don't need a man to raise your son, he'll be just fine. While I didn't have enough context to understand just how important it was for my son's father to be present as an older adult, my son now being a full adult and being a father of his own, I'm recognizing that there were so many gaps I had. As a woman, I couldn't teach my son how to be a man. And I'm grateful to these two men that are sitting beside me. As I said, they're not the only ones, but these two are on the mic today in response to a comment actually that Mr. Richard Williams made on one of our previous podcasts. I asked him for some advice. I said, what advice would you give women about the men that they are with? And he made the comment that the same way we use our intuition to know when our man is cheating, why can't we use that intuition to know when our man is hurting? And when I tell you, that pierced me, and it made me really want to examine, when did our men have their voice taken away? When did our men get to a point where our intuition had to be how we understood that they were hurting? When did it not become okay for a man to say what he needed from us? And so this is going to be one of many conversations that I have with not just these two guests, but other guests to come in the future. So today is part one of Man 101. And I want to introduce you all to two men that are wonderful in my life, my older brother, Richard Williams, and my loving husband, Eric Pearson. So hello to both of you.
Hello.
Hello, sis.
I want to ask you to just give us the 2-minute commercial about who the two of you are. How do you identify yourselves? Not according to me, but who are you, Richard?
I am Richard Williams, the man, the husband, the father, the grandfather.
Okay. How about you, Eric?
I call myself Eric Pearson. I call myself the responsibility. I fit all those shoes. And so, but there's more. I have jobs. I do a lot of things. And I think Man 101, I think the first word should be responsibility.
All right. So I want you gentlemen to just be completely transparent on this show as you respond to these questions that I'm asking you. I want you to answer them in context of how your relationship has been with me. No holds barred. I know I can be difficult to deal with. I know I am probably one of the most challenging women in my stubbornness that you all may have had to deal with. And in that, it has been difficult to be supportive of me. And so the first thing I want to ask the two of you, as it relates to leading a leader. I know that God called me to be a leader, but I'm a believer that a man is the head of the household. Many times that role has been taken from them. Society has diminished the value of it. I understand all of that. That doesn't change what truth is. And so in that context, what is it like to be a leader who has to lead a woman who's a leader? Either one of you jump
first.
in. Okay.
Yeah. I think I said before responsibility. I think that's the real, I'll say key. Because when you're responsible, you don't always get treated the way you want to be, but you're still responsible. You still respond. And I don't like react. I like respond. And I think in leading someone who's a leader, I think you have to have a healthy understanding at who that person is. And since this is an open conversation, yes. I became acutely aware quickly of some of the suffering that you had.
Okay.
Now, most of that wasn't me. We just met. But right. Ultimately, now that we are together, I'm responsible for you. So being able to love you through those things requires me to be responsive to those things. So in that, in cutting to the chase, there was some disrespect. That happened. And we were talking about meeting hurt moments with aggression. There was some of that as well. But ultimately, I had to be responsible to the degree of, if this relationship is going to move forward, this ministry is going to move forward, I'm responsible for that. I'm responsible for it in a way. If she's not thinking that way, I'm still responsible for that. If the kids aren't respecting me, I still have to be responsible for moving the family forward. And I know that, and a lot of times it was a thankless position, but I'm focused on moving forward. Yes, it would be great to be encouraged more, and that's come later. But in the beginning, it didn't happen that way. But ultimately, I was laser focused on those things. So we had to deal with each other. We had to deal with, we had different parenting styles. We had to deal with, we spent money differently. We had different ideas about a number of things. This child is running away. This one is mad at her because I won't do this, and all those sorts of things. But ultimately, being laser focused and responsible for where we needed to go as a family. I think that most men wear that. They may not describe it that way, but most fathers, grandfathers, husbands, business owners, whatever you want to call it, they're going to respond to those things and feel some of those things.
Okay. Richard, what's it like to lead a leader? Because I know my sister.
Well, my relationship is different.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You're my sister.
Right.
But what I learned in having a sister like you is to be a true leader. You have to lead from the front, meaning that you be the first to love, the first to let go, the first to forgive, the first to do, right? It doesn't mean be bossy and run the show. Sometimes it means acknowledging that somebody is better suited for a specific task than you are as the leader, and letting them handle that specific task, or, so to speak, let them lead.
Right.
Especially with you, right? So when you grow up with a sister like Shawn, you already know you can't outsmart her. She's smarter than you.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
She's just as stubborn as you. She has the same mother, same father. We have the same background. But I'm just as smart.
Right?
And I know not to battle her at her strong point, but stay in my strong point. Which is in being the leader, being the first to love. I can love her in submission. I can forgive her and show her how to forgive. I can analyze, assess her capabilities, and let her lead me in certain situations.
Right.
And in being a good leader, you have to be able to take orders from a better leader.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you just touched on something that I know is going to come up in our Man 101. When a woman is stronger in a particular area, what is the best way for us to approach that with our mate? And what I mean by that is, let's just say and this is just an example because actually he's a better steward over money than I am, but let's just say she's better at managing the money. What is the way and she's concerned about the budgeting, what is the way that she should approach you with that?
I'm hoping that she understands enough about her mate to know how to approach that with number one. But
let's assume she doesn't.
Okay.
That's why it's a question.
To me, I think the safest way, because if speaking from my perspective, men will fight for the right to be the top dog in any situation. So when you're approaching with money's sensitive. It's sensitive to anyone. But don't approach your man from the standpoint of you don't know what you're doing or giving him the impression that you're not man enough to handle this, so I'm going to take it on. I don't care if it's money or a chicken bone. You're going to fight over that. That's going to be part of that process. But I think if she can convince him, in this is the reality of the matter, that I have a different perspective of this, and I think we can reach our goals if we try this, and I can handle this. I can walk this out with you and walk it out with them. Okay. I mean, I filter a lot of things through the Bible. I read it a lot. And Sarah gave a great example by calling Abram Lord, her Lord. And I mean, she approached it from an encouraging and a respectful position. Now, she took care of the house. but she respected his position as being responsible for that house, and she approached it respectfully. And I think that's the best way. Encouragement and all that stuff, since we're real and all that stuff, she has pet names for me. She comes in with that, I'm already knowing that we're at a point of, I mean, I don't need my defenses. I can put away my shield and soar at that point, and we can have that conversation. So, but I like what you said about being the first to love, because that'll set the tone. Because if I'm the first to fight, then she's going to approach me with her warrior gear on. I mean, what are the sisters from? What are the sisters from Black Panther? She's coming. That's you know. It. So again, but you have to be unified. You have to be, and in that unity, as strong as it is, it'll help the money. It'll help anything else you're trying to do. It'll help the family. It'll run over into to close friends' lives and all those things. So I think approaching it from an encouraging, a safe standpoint for whoever that man is. And I will guarantee you, if you approach it with aggression, it's not a safe place, because we're going to fight.
You just said something related to Sarah and how she referred to her husband as Lord. I equate that to her working her jelly. You know, the world may say that she's working her influence. She knows how to disarm him. Yes, it worked. And in that, a woman of virtue recognizes that we have a level of influence in the lives of our men, not just our spouses or our mates, but our sons, our brothers. There is a very serious responsibility that we have as women that I don't think we always acknowledge. We may not even understand that we have that. And so that those Wonder Twin powers get used for evil and not good, to encourage or inspire a man to be better. I'm grateful to have been raised with all brothers in the house. I have an older sister, but being raised in the house with all brothers, I got to see the levels of vulnerability. I got to see when the macho came out. I got to see when the tears came out. I got to see when the fear was present. But to the outside world, they didn't get to see those things, those vulnerable spaces of my brothers. They always saw the aggressor or the protector from my brothers. And so that was the mask that, one of our other guests referred to, the mask that they wore when they were outside of the house. And so, Richard, you talked in the podcast that you did with me before about women using their intuition to know when our man was cheating. And why couldn't we use that to understand when he is hurting? First of all, I believe that intuition is a Holy Spirit thing, and men have it too, not just women. But I want to talk about why we would have to do the guesswork. What happens in the dynamic of a relationship, maybe where the man is not feeling safe enough to just say that he's hurting?
Well, I don't think it's a matter of a man feeling safe enough. I think it is more to do with the man's ways of processing things, right? We don't verbalize the processes. We identify the problem, and then we start identifying probable solutions in our head.
Right. Strategy.
And we're not ready to have that discussion until we've narrowed down that probable list of solutions.
Absolutely.
Women are open to discussing it throughout the whole process.
External process.
Right, and we don't do that. And that's what I was saying, forcing us to communicate the way that women communicate. And in the interim, I can see the frustration in a woman. Hey, you don't want to talk? Well, fine, don't say nothing.
Right.
Or why I got to beat it out of you? No, all you have to do is be patient. You see that the finances are janky, same as I see that the finances are janky. You know I'm unemployed. I know I'm unemployed. I see there's no food in the refrigerator. You see no food in the refrigerator. Why must I continue to identify these problems?
Okay.
We know what the problem is. It's the way you use what you got to get what you want. So when you're talking to your man, you know what his soft spots are. You know what his soft spots are for you. You use those to get him to open up in a way that he normally wouldn't open up.
Don't
Hey,
abuse
babe,
him.
what are you going through?
Yeah.
Let me help you through it.
Okay.
Not, well, fine then, don't talk to me.
Right. Right.
and start slamming and, or you know what, fine, you don't want to talk to me, I don't want to talk to you. Not understanding or not realizing that we're processing things in our head, right? So a man's silence does not mean the same thing that a woman's silence means. A woman's silence usually means she's angry, she's upset about something, and she's near a breaking point. A man simply means he's thinking.
Right. And don't force it. I like what you said earlier. Don't try to force it.
But we want to know now. I think the reality of us wanting to hear that external processing, and I'll just speak for me because we come all shapes, size, flavors, the Heinz 57 variety. For me, wanting to have that external processing was a desire to know that I was still in a safe space. And what I mean by that, you'll hear me use that word safe a lot because I really did have, part of my journey was some physical abuse and some emotional abuse and so forth. And so for me to feel emotionally safe, the constant communication was necessary. I needed to know what you were thinking. I'm cool with you thinking, but I just need to know that you're not thinking about hitting me upside my head. Or I need to know that you're not thinking about walking out on me. So me wanting to hear the external processing was about a need to feel safe in the space while you processed. So
the safe space, right? Let's define that for a man. For me and many men in my generation, we are the safe space. Right. So to frame it as if a man needs a safe space, we're the safe space. I don't need a safe space.
Okay.
I'm just not ready to talk about it.
Right. Okay.
I'm prepared to come with whatever it is that I'm saying or whatever it is that I'm doing. I'm prepared to reap the benefits or endure the repercussions behind that, right? So it's not a matter of safe space. It's a matter, I just don't want to talk about it. I'm still processing it in my head. And a lot of times when we process it, when women process male emotion through a female prism,
yes,
they deduct the wrong thing.
Right.
Often.
Right.
So being fathers, because I want to shift to not just talking about your mates, but talking about your daughters. What has been understanding that each of you have daughters in their 30s. So it is a generation of women that have come behind my generation where, the ultra independent, I don't need a man, I can handle all of this on my own, all the women independent, throw your hands up, that kind of thing, with a total, I think, disregard for the value of a man. What are the things that you've been teaching your daughters that counteracts that social thing? And I'm not diminishing an independent woman because I am an independent woman, but part of my independence means that I am secure in knowing that I don't have to have every answer. I don't have to be the head. I don't have to give an account for the family the way that my husband does. And it takes nothing away from my identity or my greatness to be able to submit to his leadership. And so in that, the young ladies that you all have raised, what are the messages that you've been sending them, either verbal or nonverbal? What are those things you're teaching them?
Well, for my daughters, I tried to set the bar, the standard for what a man should be in their life. And it helped me be a better man and a better father in all the roles, right? Because I wasn't always a good man. I wasn't always a good husband. But every daughter forced me, every kid actually forced me to be a better person, a more well-rounded person. So by being a better man, to set an example of what a father should be, what a father's role should look like, it gave them a lot of guidance in when they were selecting their own mate. I also kept the communication, the line of communication open with all my daughters. I've been talking to them about boys since they was 5-6 years old.
Right.
And the message to them wasn't boys are bad. It was the message is boys is different. Look at your brothers.
Right.
Right. They're just different. And in being different doesn't make them bad.
Right.
But those differences do mean that I needed to show my daughters how to deal with the different style of communication with boys versus girls. So we would even sit on the couch and play first date.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
And I say, when I yawn and try to get my arm around you, you yawn and you block. Right? When the boy laughs, ha ha ha, and you put a hand on your lap, you laugh, and you take your hand right off. Right?
Okay.
The quicker you do it, the more sound the message is sent. Right?
Okay.
And I taught them stuff like that.
Okay.
So when they got to be 20, 25, they were calling me like, Dad, you wouldn't believe what this dude said. Okay, this is what you say.
Okay.
Yada. Ask him.
Okay.
Right.
And you tell him what his response was, and I give you a counter to it.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times I would even take their phone, and I'd be responding as
And
them.
you sending that.
Right?
Okay.
And they would be busting up. Because every grown man can have a little teenage boy on the ropes.
Right.
When he's trying to spit his little teenage game. And you got your grown man hat on.
Right.
Now, come on, man.
Come
on. So I showed my daughter step by step.
Okay.
I think one of my shortcomings, I won't say I think, I know one of my shortcomings were, my daughters were a bit too masculine.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And like I said, I wasn't always the good person I am today. But your kids take all the lessons and
That's right.
and all the recipes. So some of the stuff I had to, come on now, baby, you got to soften up on him. He's only 22, right? He ain't supposed to have it all together at 22.
Okay.
Give him some space, right? Cut him some slack. That sort of thing.
Okay.
It even got to the point where I opened up the door for their boyfriends to call me for advice on how to handle my daughter.
Okay.
Right?
Ooh.
Those are the things, the tools that I use to help my daughters.
Right.
Now I know you being the father of my children, the bonus father, if you will. You had some traumas to deal with.
Yeah.
In teaching.
It was. I looked at it strategically because I had 3 children before I met Shawn, so I had 2 daughters already. But I know they came from very different. I had to understand, learn safe spaces. And I had to be the model of that. I had to be consistent because most of them at that time had moved away in one level or another. So I had 2 groups of children that are used to very different parenting styles. So I had to make the adjustment. The good news is, in terms of the safe space, that was easy because I wasn't going to do the things that they came from. That was easy.
Right.
But I did have to help rewrite some scripts about how to deal with problems with their mother, how to deal with differences and things like that, how to be there in a way that they understand that this is genuine fathership, if you will. And that's why I say so much about responsibility as well as sharing with my children that we have more brothers and sisters. It's not going to change the game, but it is different now. And they're coming from a different culture and a different understanding, and we need to embrace that. Not try to make them come into ours, but they're part of us now. So just like someone may be have a fish allergy here, doesn't mean you can't start. You have to stop eating fish. It just means when we're together, we have to do things differently. So there was a lot about that family dynamic that was. If it weren't for God, I ain't gonna lie to you. I'd have been. Well, I think I am crazy, but I'd have been crazier. But ultimately, being able to develop a corporate responsibility and relationship in individuals, and all of them are different, but all unique. But again, being safe, I think, was the part from that. Being able to talk differently, because my kids knew he may yell, but he ain't gonna do nothing. But these ones don't understand that, so I can't do as much yelling. I have to be different, and I have to understand the way they understand things, and still be responsible to all of that. So, and I had to make sure that between us, we presented as a unified front, because I know that you came from a dynamic where you had to defend yourself in the marriage, and I had to be able to be responsible, but not be threatening.
Right.
You know what I mean? Be the person who's going to be first, but not let everybody be estranged. So, like I said, I don't know if I've done it right. I mean, it's still a process. Now they can come back and tell me, when you did that, I thought that was messed up. You know what I mean? Right. So again, it hasn't ended, but I've taken a page out of your book, because with the grandchildren, I was like, listen, they're going to say this to you. You know what I mean? So we just dropped a grandchild off to college not too long ago. We had those conversations.
Yes.
But yeah.
We're just getting started, ladies and gentlemen. This is Man 101. I am asking all of the hard questions, so stay with us for Man 101 Part 2, where I'm going to get down and dirty. I wanted to just get us warmed up, get them comfortable with giving some honest answers. But when we come back with Man 101 Part 2, ladies, put your slippers on, get your popcorn, get your notebook, because I'm about to ask those questions that inquiring minds want to know. And these two will tell me the truth. So I will see you very soon on Man 101 Part 2. Take care. Thank you for joining me on my podcast, A Journey to Virtuous. Please like and subscribe. If you'd like to know more about the work that I'm doing, please visit me on social media at thezioninstitute.org or Whisper Consulting, or also Shawn Pearson Journey Coach. You can also find me on one of my websites, thezioninstitute.org, thezioninstitute.org, or whisperconsulting.com. That's WISPHER consulting.com. Thank you for your support.